Back in the day I made a video called Noob Sport. It's a video in which I created a fresh account on GT7 and tried to experience the sport mode just like a brand new player would. And most of the racing was honestly quite pleasant. But the comments on the video were like, bro, of course it's easy, you're just flexing on those noobs. So this time I'm trying the exact opposite. It's been a geological age since my last sport race. Besides the occasional appearance in a League of Extraordinary Weirdos, I've barely touched GT7 for months, and I'm about as slow and unskilled now as I can get. But my sport mode driver rating, it doesn't know that. I'm starting out with Daily Race A because throwing slippery street cars around at speeds they were never designed for is kind of my specialty, so what could possibly go wrong? It's alright, first braking zone, and look at that number. I've never driven this car before, but I've got the hang of it now. Well, this car was damaged from the first accident, wasn't it? That second time didn't count. Okay, third time's a charm. See? Nailed it. Eventually, after completely mastering the car, I set a time that would see me start in the middle of the pack. Not that it mattered. With my practice over the past few months obviously paying off, I set about chasing down the pack. I arrive at turn 1 just a little too hot and can't react at all to mint chocolate moving over. There's a little bit of contact, but I come out of it worse. Not quite as bad as Axe Motor or Hamutaro though. In a straight line, Mint bends it somehow and Berati gets in on the action too before using me as a driving assist. It's all good though, we both move on, that is until Axe Motor makes a half-hearted attempt to live up to his name. Up to 4th now and closing in on corner, but when I said I mastered this car, maybe I was lying. I tippy-toe through this section while corner decides some impromptu grass mowings on the cards. When I need to brake for him, Axe Motorer finally gets his kill. Race 1 finishes with a sad limp across the line in dead last. With a slightly better qualifying time, I'm on pole now. I even managed not to give myself a penalty off the line. I'm honestly expecting to be launched into the fence on turn 1, but somehow I survived, which I'm sure is a disappointment to Mick Jagger behind me. It must have come as a shock to him, but somehow I survived his constant horn attack to cruise off to a pretty uneventful victory. Which means it's time to graduate from Daily A and play with the big kids in Daily Race B. This time it's Laguna Seca, which is a track I know and love, but still with a car I have 0 Ks on. I end up starting 9th and I'm still there when the first action happens halfway through lap 2. VTX gets it all wrong up the hill, something you'd never catch me doing. I tried to make another place by sneaking up the inside of Haru, but he's having none of it. Channeling his inner Goku to stay ahead even. And that's just how it goes until lap 4 when I'm still close behind Haru. A little too close. I misjudge the turn, clip that stupid hump just enough to unsettle the car and go spinning off the track backwards. I drop all the way back to 13th before the last lap corner battle with Ramen for 12th. Not the best result, but hey, there's always race 2. This time I started 8th and it was all nice and tidy till Little Wiggy took that scenic route and that gave me position 7. Schwab then departs the scene just a few moments later and now it's position 6. Then all hell breaks loose up ahead when Kazuma gets it all wrong, taking out Tomure and then Narutaka Seiko because why not? That leaves me in 4th position and suddenly this is all starting to look pretty rosy. It takes me to the beginning of the final lap to finally track down and pass Pending Dream, and I'm thinking maybe I can even win this. But in the end, I don't have the pace and need to settle for a still solid 2nd place. Not wanting to move on till I have a win though, this is race 3. It's a quiet start from 4th till the 2nd lap where JH Racing cracks under the pressure and I sneak up the inside, barely keeping it on track to make the pass. Which ended well. Back to 8th now after that mess. Not make that 9th. Not gonna be winning this one. Frustrated and stepping too hard on the loud pedal, I slip back further to 10th. Laguna Seca punts the Aussie in front of him into oblivion, putting me back to 9th, then gets a nice 4-second penalty for his crime, getting me back way up to 8th. The Silvia parked on the side of the road gives up 7th place, and that is all that happens till the final lap, where I just had to close right up on the back of this S15, which blocks my view of the corner. That puts me behind the Aussie and his murderer again, and that's where I would have finished, if not for this. This one's got to be my best chance yet, starting second behind a guy I've been faster than in previous races. JH Racing puts up a good defense for nearly 3 laps, but in the end he succumbs to the pressure and lets his own mistakes catch up with him. Released, I clear out. I have a nice little 1.5 second gap to second, and on the last lap I'm just cruising home, making sure I bring home the victory all safe and sound like. Which works well. That's 5th place, and I'm still searching for that elusive victory. Race 5 at Laguna still sees me starting second, but this time with some fresh faces in the lineup. I try to challenge Alex early, but he's more than up for it. I tuck into the slip, then swing out wide, trying to maximize my exit for another attack, but Chris behind has other ideas. He sends me wide, and the 2 Silvia brothers just speed right past. I'm able to retake Chris though, and hanging around the outside, trying to regain second. It doesn't work, of course, and here comes that corner with a bump on the inside that I have a little too much fear of now. Honestly, I thought that was an okay save, but everybody passes me, and in the end it's all for nothing anyway. After making a mistake and running wide, then being knocked off the track, the game then decides that wasn't quite enough punishment and teleports me back to the Lake Cretaceous. I'm dead last now, and not even by a little bit. I'm nearly half a lap behind. I don't quit though and finish a miserable 15th. What a disaster this is turning out to be. So here we go again. This time we have Geesh blocking my path to Alex up front. He's super aggressive in the first few turns and dives through not even halfway through the first lap. From then on it's just me and him. And while we have nearly identical fastest laps, I just don't have the consistency, and it's another 2nd place finish. Next up, the game throws me into a summit meeting with some seriously fast drivers ahead of me on the grid. In my current form, I don't like my chances. It's a pretty uneventful opening till Sake nudges out Hideax, and I take advantage, following him through up the hill. It stays this way till highway robbery gets absolutely mugged, going from 3rd all the way back to 7th by the time I pass him. Even though I'm squeezed, I get a beautiful run up the hill to the corkscrew, but I have nowhere to go and just decide to sit in. Then all chaos breaks loose. There's cars going everywhere, 2 gone, with Sake copping a 4-second penalty up ahead. All of a sudden I'm in 3rd and dreaming I can win this one. I just set the fastest lap, but then again, those ahead are fast with a 5-second lead. But I was tired of being beaten, so I just went for it. I got the gap down to just 3 seconds with 2 laps still to go, which was awesome. Till it wasn't. And then wait for it. Boom. Again, it wasn't enough just to lose a chunk of time. The game beamed me back to the Stone Age, from 3rd to 14th in one teleportation. After that, I finally decided it wasn't my day. I was never going to win at Laguna. It's Daily C in Watkins Glen now, again in a car I've never used before. I set an absolutely stunning qualifying time that was only beaten by those who set a qualifying time when I started 13th. Of course, this being Daily Race C after all means there's going to be a pit stop strategy to consider, but I just took the YOLO approach. Bolt on some hard tyres and see what happens. Which turns out it's an okay strategy, as just keeping it on the track saw me gain a number of places through the chicane. The Aussie behind does give me a little nibble on exit, but it's not enough for him to capitalise on it. I'm up to 9th now and about to pass Kenneth, who completely butchers the final corner. It's an easy pass, but he returns the favour on me not long after when I space out and miss my braking marker. We're starting to have a great mid-pack battle, and for my first race in Daily C, I'm just happy not to be dropped. A few laps later and I've moved up a few positions due to guys in front pitting. Kenneth has passed Whammo and I'm trying to do the same. I'm much faster on corner exit and try to send it up the inside. I really could have been far more aggressive here, but I made sure not to run wide, and Whammo takes advantage of this, holding onto the position. It's at this point when I'm gearing up for an attack down the straight, but Whammo decides he needs to pit, which confuses the hell out of me, and I decide to pit too since I'm basically already in the lane. Coming out of the pits though, yeah, I expected that one. I knew I stuffed up that entry and I was expecting a 3-second penalty. Good news is though that Whammo copped it too, so at least he won't be blasting back past me. After all that, I'm back in 9th till the Sylvia departs the scene. But now it's penalty serving time as I watch the Aussie just fly right by. After reeling the Aussie back in, I'm trying to put him off a little, trying to make him slow through the chicane so I can pounce right after it. That was the plan, but crunch. Still 9th then, well 10th. 11th? It's not exactly going well, but I do get to pass my nemesis as he takes a penalty, taking me back to 10th. And ahead it's Whammo again, but this time with Kenny all over the back of him. Kenny is particularly slow out of some corners though, and I capitalise on that, making a nuisance of myself on the inside of the final turn. This gives me a run into the first corner where I pass for about half a second before Kenny sweeps over to take the place right back. But being ahead right before a long straight isn't exactly ideal, and I get alongside by the chicane. This time though, I'm the car on the outside and we managed to both go through, no problems at all. With 1 lap to go, I launch an all-out attack on Whammo, closing up massively through the chicane. But no matter where I try to pass, Whammo is there with some nice car positioning. He even learnt from earlier in the race where I stayed on the outside to give me a great run up the inside for the next turn. Look at him this time, it's beautiful stuff. In the end I could only manage 9th as I crossed the line, but still 1 more to go. After setting a slightly less embarrassing qualifying time, I settled in behind Full Throttle and Sin, just wanting to keep pace and see what happens. And that paid off in lap 1 with Sin getting all out of shape then binning at the very next turn. It's a 10-lap race, he didn't need to risk it all on lap 1. Good for me though. I sit in behind Full Throttle until lap 4 when he pits and I go flying into the lead. At this point I'm thinking, if you're on soft, I've got you. But as his little tyre icon pops up, it's all white with a H in it, which means he was ahead of me on pure pace. What's worse is that now I'm doing 1 extra lap on hards while he's going to come out of the pits absolutely flying on soft tyres. By the time I emerge from the pits, he has a 3-second lead on me. But on the flip side, I now have tyres that are 1 lap younger. The chase is on. It's lap 8 of 10 now and I've not only caught Full Throttle, but I'm going for the pass on the outside of this chicane. It seems like a job well done until I see that little red message of doom. I must have cut the track trying to pass, so now I've got to push like hell to build a gap. When it comes time to serve the penalty, Full Throttle is still right there and breezes past. With 1.5 laps to go, it's chase time again. It takes me till the last half of the last lap to catch him again, and now there are no easy drafting overtake spots left. He shows me the outside here and I take it, knowing that I can just cut back on the inside and get the drive out. Now it's just a straight drag race to the next corner, where I have the inside line, but I can't go wide or he's going to have me. I brake as late as I dare, nail the apex and take pretty much a perfect racing line for those red tyres at least. Now it's just a matter of not screwing it up to take a most satisfying win after the hell that was Laguna Seca. And there you have it. That is every race I did back to back with every pass, every hit, every fail. Daily A with no consequences to your driving record for being a jerk is a little messy, but with a car that difficult to drive, it was always going to be. I did get hit a few times in daily B and C, but when I go back and watch the replays, I find that from the other driver's perspective, it wasn't exactly that bad. I think all the contact I had was from other drivers being too aggressive. In all those races, I can't recall a single instance of a driver purposely wrecking me. I think the only thing I can really complain about are those ridiculous teleportations. Instant transmission is great if it puts you back on track, around about where you went off, but when it sends you halfway across the city, what's that all about? All in all, I had a blast making this video, and it makes me want to repeat the sentiments of the previous video I made on the topic. If you love racing cars in GT7, then you're probably going to love Sport Mode. The rammers and jerks are there, and occasionally they're going to get you. But in between those moments lies some amazing racing you should not be missing out on.